we got the first couple of exploration hexes from each player here. The game's already showing to me what I didn't like about it, especially in solo play. Nothing too exciting's happened. We've had a couple of, I think a couple of casualties and whatnot, but yeah, you know. And people are making their little explorations. But it's just going to be a lot more of this. A lot more of the procedural attitude of dealing with all those cards. You know, you're drawing so many cards each turn and everything just to find what's in a hex. And again, the game 2 is no better. You're just rolling dice for all this stuff instead of drawing cards. Anyway, that's where we're at so far. I've got jury duty later in this day. I don't know what it is. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm hoping to be able to get another couple hours of sleep in or something. It's past like 1 in the morning now. Yeah. I had my jury duty today. They let us off early. Apparently the case was settled before, you know, they impaneled us or whatever. But, yeah. So, for 4 hours, plus transit time, about an hour each way, I got $10 whole. Woot! Might get some mileage money too, even though I walked. I think they give us 25 cents a mile. So that's another couple bucks. It's not that far. Anyway, let's try to get some of this in. I'm having a real hard time convincing myself to play. Again, not my kind of game in a lot of ways, especially playing it solo. But we start with the geologist, and hey, let's figure out how fast we need to go. I'm sitting in a swamp. That means there's a good chance I get lost. Now, when you get lost, you just don't move, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's hard to fucking find anything. You wish an important term like lost would just bounce out here. You know, in bold or something. I don't know. I have my issues with finding bold. This is one of the problems. The tightness of the columns in this rule book feels worse than the SPI versions of the same. I've always felt like the graphic layout doesn't leave enough white space or whatever, so I can't find things as easily. Because it's not anywhere where it belongs. It's not in the general rules for movement. It's not in movement restrictions. This is all mapping stuff. We go through all of this, and then we get to lost, which is whenever you attempt to enter an unpublished hex. Look, if you're attempting to enter an unpublished hex, that should be happening before you get to any of the mapping stuff, right? It should be in this movement. And yeah, lost is relatively well described there. But that means I have to worry about some things now. I think I want to move cautiously. If I can, on a mounted expedition. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to be here. That's interesting. Movement restrictions. Horse. Cannot enter swamp or lake. Okay. So, I don't know what happened here. What did I get with 33? This was friendly. I had enough food because I had to eat an animal. I'm gonna ignore it for now, but I should not have been able to go there. But fuck it. Okay, so we'll try to move a hex. I'm going to move cautiously, but I get my disaster check. A crocodile, when he goes down to the river for a drink. I'd have to have the river and the hex for that to take place. And I look for dice. Now, this river branches up here. This could actually go back to the swamp, I think. Then it would be heading down water, I guess. I don't know. Are we at 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Yes. Our lost number was a 5, a 6, which means we're not going to move. This is really shitty because I'm stuck in the swamp with horses, but I just don't want to undo that. And I can feed with the natives, so I don't need to hunt, but it does waste a turn. All right. And what's going on here? Hey, I found some, path through the swamp or something. Fuck it. You wouldn't be able to explore it completely, but I just don't care. I just don't care. Fellow's turn, he found a second lake hex here. It ended up extending, so it's 2 plus 71. It's probably going to be a 3 hex lake. It's just what happens when you have this much opening. The lake is just likely to show up. And I tried to enter here. This is one of the problems, and why I'm heading this way is to try to, I don't know what exactly. Because the Limpopo is going to have a route out if I can make it happen. And I don't know what happens if a lake is feeding into 2 rivers, if that can happen. I think it can. I do get my spectacular discovery option there, zoologist. I am not in a river, or I'm not in a desert. But yeah, so this is what should have happened here. I found, and what did happen here, because he didn't have enough movement. But this guy had the movement. I just forgot the movement restriction penalty, and fuck him. I'll give him the bonus. But I've discovered half. I know what the terrain is. There's no river, so I can't get out. This is one of the problems with the canoe expedition, is when you find a lake or a swamp, you might not be able to get out of it easily. Eventually, there has to be a way based on the size of the river basin. One of the problems I had is it's hard to hunt in the lake. Swamp isn't too bad, but lake is terrible. It doesn't give you a river either. River gives you a couple of column shifts, so hunting is generally better on the river. But being out on the lake means that I'm going to not get a lot of food, and I'm down to 58 rations now. Now, I have a lot of gifts if I find me some people I can trade with. Right, so here I am with the missionary, and I drew a disaster. Expedition comes upon a voodoo sign in the jungle trail. I'm in a jungle. I'm not on a trail, but whatever, I'm exploring, so that this applies. Jungle is the only thing that matters, trail does not. 4 bearers bolt, leaving their packs, so you get to reassign whatever they have. But here's the problem. I need them with my canoes. A missionary can convince each to stay on a roll of 1, 2, or 3. So since I'm losing 4, 2 are gone, 3 are gone. So I'm going to be down to 13 bearers. We'll get back to that in a moment. Not present here. My intention was to move into this hex, right? So I'm moving at normal rate so that I have the 4 movement points to get into the swamp. But what's not on here is incomplete crew. I need 8 bearers per canoe. At this point, I have 13 bearers, so that's 6 per canoe, 7 if I join in and start losing Ascaris. And again, here, canoe expedition, there it is. 4 to 7 bearers per canoe drops me down by 1 movement point. Now I only have 3 movement points. That's not enough to get in there. I'm going to have to move reckless to get in there. And since I didn't discover anything new, a new hex or anything, all I get to do is hunt, which I guess is okay. I'm in a jungle swamp. I can take the better of the 2. With 5, I get 3 food per. I've got 7 Ascaris. I get 21 food. I'm down to 20 people. So I feed up and I'm fine. But it's getting harder and harder to move. Now I could cache a canoe. I could just get rid of some people. But right now this is, I don't know. The big problem is I'm going to have a hard time getting out of that swamp for the same reasons the other players are having trouble as well, like the lake and such. Talk about Dr. Blue, had problems. Went into here, we have a split river. There was no cataract. Oh, I forgot to check for cataract on this one. No. Right? This wasn't a mountain. Okay. This one was. Didn't check for peak. Didn't get one. Okay. I found natives in both. These natives hid from me. Great. That's fine. But they got an attitude of charge or whatever. These natives, I got a negotiation, but I have no gifts. And that's problematic. And a negotiation with no gifts gets you, I mean, with one gift, it gets you friendly or attack or ambush. So I figure that went to ambush. This is not great. There are no really good options for me, to tell you the truth. What I want is a hide option. The only way you get hide is off the native charge table. Well, off the 2 native attack tables. And I didn't get that. They didn't hide from me. I got a negotiation. I could have given them all my food, but I have nothing else to give them. There's no option to give them some of my food. I can't convert food into gifts. If you look, I believe that's a one-way direction. Gifts turn into rations. One gift turns into X rations. X gifts. See, this is fucked up because actually trading a musket, you can trade a musket to the natives. You can't trade them food, though, in exchange for gifts. So all this food I'm carrying isn't really helpful. And I really don't want to be... This is problematic as an expedition. I fucked up is basically what happened. I needed to carry those gifts with me. I got rid of my gifts, got just rations, thinking that, I can make friends with them by giving them all my gifts. Nah. And as a doctor, I kind of want to be near natives. So he's just got a really horrible expedition at this point. But anyway, he found the river end on this direction. That's allowable because this direction's here. And you can see, I can get a river end here. I can't get one here because I haven't hit the 10 hexes yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got to go a few more hexes before that happens. And this isn't a very big river. So I may not want to explore, I may not be able to explore it all and then, or I may explore it all, find everything, and then end up either having to give up my canoes or sail downriver and maybe go try to find my way through the Congo if his expedition fucks up. The orange, I believe, is mostly mapped. There is a swamp there, and there's a branch. Okay, so the orange actually is also another option, assuming he doesn't find much. So I've got a few opportunities, but I've also got a mission that's a disaster as a whole. Anyway, I lost a couple of Ascaris in my fight. I was victorious. I captured natives. I get a victory point for that. That doesn't go here. It only happens once you publish, which is why this 0 victory points thing just doesn't work for me. And I got a defeated marker on them. The problem is I've got to go through these again, which is going to be difficult. And we'll see if I remember. I can't face this game anymore right now. I don't have the willpower to be playing things I don't like the way I used to. Here I am, it's kind of mid-afternoon on Thursday. Whole week's gone by. Barely playing this. Getting very little done. Yeah, I had to go yesterday to do something, but I had thoughts of, going out shopping. Not big shopping, just a little shopping today. I just don't feel like it. I had thoughts of doing some yard work. Again, it's a little too late. It's not as hot as it used to be, but it's still in the high 80s. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't know. It's, when I had raid, at least I had the excuse of, oh, I got to do raid all the time. Now I've got this sort of, I don't know, just general malaise. Anyway, well, let's get on with playing. Hopefully make less errors this turn than I did previously. And honestly, things like the fix where, oh yeah, I'm in the swamp, yeah, too bad. Look, this is the kind of fix we would have to make in games when playing opposed as well. I forgot how nasty this game is, just in terms of like how much the natives rape you. They really do. Like, I don't know. I thought I had a good plan with these guys. Looking at the rolls, yeah, it has to be gifts. You have to give them. You can only give them gifts to negotiate, to set whether they're friendly or not. You can't give them food. They don't want that shit. But if you don't give them all your food, you're fucked. Let's look at this situation, because we're saying I was able to explore this. Yeah, cheat. Going back into here, this is a tribe that is not friendly. What's up with that? This is where I basically have to go back to get to the river. And then I've got to cross a cataract. Now, it would only cost me 1 movement point to get into this space. Crossing the cataract will cost me... we got to refigure here. I have very few people now. Oh, I don't have to worry about cataracts. Okay. So what happens when I land in a space with natives that have already attacked me? They're not friendly. These guys aren't friendly either. Oh yeah, they are. These guys are friendly. These guys will help me. Maybe it's better I stay in the swamp and hope I find a river. The chance of that is almost nil, though. It really is. It's very hard to find a river out of a swamp, and there's no guarantees that I will, because there's an exit to the river system there. In order to operate here, I'm going to have to deal with those natives anyway. So I'm going to move cautious, because that makes it easier to cope with the natives. And that was the whole question, is my event. One Ascari becomes ill after eating some tacos he found in the swamp. Sorry, roots. Tacos are on my mind. Botanist will avoid this disaster. Doctor saves him on a roll of 1. I'm neither of those. So now I have an ill Ascari, which means he can't do anything. And I have to write that down somehow. Okay. And that really hurts me. I moved my 1 movement point. I've actually got 2 movement points because I'm mounted, but no biggie. I don't have to roll a lost roll because I'm going back over explored terrain. And now I have to come up with something to deal with these guys. Now what I want is I want to be fucking ignored. But being ignored is impossible. I will go into a defensive stance. I'm not allowed to hunt, but screw it. And we're cautious. This doesn't give us much, it gives us a charge. 11, we get a charge. Okay. Now we're at 3 Ascaris total, because I lost one. On the charge table, this is a small tribe at least. I get a 9. I am defeated. Okay, this is horrible. That gets us to the consequences of defeat. I am captive and held prisoner. My entire thing is pretty much gone at this point. Unless I escape. Just the natives. This is a nasty one. I'm moving cautiously, because that allows me to still explore. A herd of hippos migrate through your camp to reach the lake. I'm in a lake, wrecking 4 canoes. I have canoes. All of the supplies carried on the carried are wrecked, but everyone escapes. So yeah, that's not going to work because we're in the water. Save 1 canoe and its supplies per hippo shot. Okay. How do I shoot animals? I need a 6 each. This is a zoologist. He hits on a 5 or a 6. I have a total of 8 people. Let's roll me first. I could actually just grab shit tons of dice. 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. I need 6s. Now, save 1 canoe, what does that mean? I think that means save 1 of my canoes, not reduce the amount that would be destroyed. So I need 2 hits. And I got 2 hits. Which means I'm perfectly fine. My mission is not wrecked by this. It looked like a really bad event. Okay, let me continue on. Did not get the kind of exploration they really would have liked. What they got was a river begins, no cataract or anything, in a mountain jungle here. And I'm going to have to bug out of there. I found some natives. It was a medium tribe. I went with the open and friendly without the technology. I'm too close for technology to work. And gave them 10 goods to 10 gifts to keep them happy, right? And then ended up fed by them, which is cool. But I have to bug out of this space on my next turn, which means if I want to explore a hex, I'm going to have to move normally. This is really limiting what the Limpopo can follow, and it must follow that. Like, there's basically no way that it doesn't extend out this way. Fortunately, every mission seems to be in trouble, and that is this game. Okay, nothing. Sometimes it just goes easily, but usually, almost everybody's just in trouble, and one guy runs away with it in the multiplayer game because bad things just don't happen to someone, or they don't happen too horribly. How bad is everyone? He's not in that bad a shape. I don't think Green's in that bad a shape. Blue fucked up royally. Red is in trouble. Whatever. Red. Red is in the stew pot. I'm going to break for a bit because I just noticed I'm almost out of tea, even though I'm only halfway through a turn. It takes so long to generate a single hex, really, that this is part of what's painful. And yeah, I mean, that's where you get the depth and richness of the story of the game. It's just that depth and richness, other than the funny bad things that happen, isn't that much fun. And a fair amount of it spent looking up, oh wait, what happens if this, and forgetting to do something, and forgetting something about the swamps or whatever, because it's not a game that you play a lot, no matter what. I think it's one that you dig out every now and then, and it's just never deep in your heart, all the stuff that you have to take care of on any given hex entry. Okay, so green got the good thing of being a missionary, maybe. Had to move normally to get into here, finish the exploration of it, found myself some natives, gave them the 10 gifts, ends up as friends. It's possible you might not, but it's unlikely. And so I'm fed and everything, but I draw for my special find. Tribe is convinced you are God. If not friendly, they'll automatically become friendly. And will give you 40 gifts. I think they're willing to give the gifts either way. That's how I'm going to interpret it, because there's enough bad luck in this game all the time. It's like, they only give me the gifts if they're not friendly? Come on. That sucks. So, let's see what I can carry. I think I can carry those 40 extra gifts. This makes one of the players, again, way above. But whatever. Back to Dr. Blue. He's in a location with a tribe that he could negotiate with. He had before. I don't know what the attitude actually means. It may be something for Section 2, or Game 2. But I defeated them. I can get away from them, but then I have to go to this other tribe that also is not yet friendly, and I will have to deal with them. Do I want to end the turn with them? Not particularly. I want to eat a lot more of my rations before I give everything away. So I think I am going to move... Oh, what is this? 1 and 2... I forgot about this. 1 and 2, the hiding ones, allow me to ignore them if I get a negotiate. I don't know why they have an N in that case, right? Like, there should be a different letter. It's just a bad design. All right. We're gonna... I don't like not moving cautiously. That's the problem. We're gonna move cautiously. 2 is bug out. 1 is can't draw for bonus or hunt. I'm not gonna have to draw for bonus. So I am going to move cautiously. Draw this. A dozen baboons attacked the expedition in the mountains. I am not in the mountains, so I can ignore it. I get here, now I have to deal with the natives. I was going to go with a great show of force, if I can. Does policy 4 change anything? Follow the instructions with the policy. Yeah, let's go with policy 4. Because that also protects me. I can just ignore them. They are a medium-sized tribe, if that's of importance. It is not. So I roll a 6. Let's see what happens. Policy 4. I get a neutral. I get to ignore them. This is where I screwed up. I shouldn't have had to fight because I got a neutral when I was trying to ignore or something like that. Again, oops. Oh wait, I was going cautious. That does not hurt me. And now I get to hunt. Back around to our captured geologist. Now, consequences of defeat. The explorer who is captured may attempt to escape at the end of each other turn. It continues until he escapes, dies, or retires. Use consequence of defeat. But you won't get anything except bearers out of this. Any other people are converted to bearers. So now we try to read this. 9. He escapes with a musket, 9 rations, and 2 members. Now, there was a musket around. Let's just look for this. Where the fuck was that? Okay. So what did I get? So I get 2 bearers, a musket, and 9 rations. And I'm out and I'm safe. And yada yada yada. I can start my expedition again. Or I can try to go home. This is what my expedition now looks like. I have 2 bearers, 9 rations, and a musket. I don't really need 2 bearers. To tell you the truth, I don't know that I want them. I can release them. Let me think about that next turn. But I can carry all the shit that I have. Those extra bearers don't help me. Into another one of those, ouch, this is ugly situations. Now, I thought every river crosses gave you 2 terrain numbers so that it actually could. Now I'm confused and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to have to look that up. The other thing would be if it did cross from the lake to here, which would be a river continues as opposed to crosses. Actually, not continues. Yeah, it would have to come from an extends from lake instead into 3. That would create a danger that the Limpopo and Zambezi would be sharing a basin, and I don't know if that's allowed. Would they add up together to be 29, whatever? I'd have to look that up as well. But right now I'm looking up what the fuck to do with this, because I thought when river crosses on a B column, which says you're not following a river, automatically that would give you 2 numbers here. So this may be a typo card that I should draw another card for, or what? Yeah, see, if there is only 1 number, or if only 1 adjacent hex is passable, treat as river begins. Well, then it should say river begins. It shouldn't say river crosses. I'm not going to follow the rules on that. I'm going to draw another card. Maybe I'm supposed to all the time. That should cross from 1 to 3. This is legal, but now I got to look into, hey, did I just fuck the Limpopo by creating a river going into there? In which case this would become, I think, a river begins going into the lake, and I'll be able to explore it. It's the kind of shit where the game doesn't quite work. Like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, and it's a frustrating situation that happens when it shows up. So let's get to the complexities. First off, I can't find anything that limits 2 drainage basins from getting together. Since it's happening via a lake, I think it's okay, but I think what's going to happen is this combined river system is going to have to be 29 hexes in length, which could create quite a long river, making it a very powerful situation. So I went with that. I found a cataract. That's problematic. I'm not going to be able to cross the cataract because I was moving normal 1, 2, 3 into here. I think my portage is going to cost me at least 2 movement points. I'm not positive of that. Let's take a look. I have 16 bearers. They could carry 160 stuff. I have 80 something stuff here and 80 stuff here. It's going to actually cost me 3 movement points to get around the cataract. So I'm on the other side of the cataract. No easy way to notate that. You just have to kind of fucking remember or something. I'm also heading downstream into a cataract. This is a problem. Because the Limpopo, this has to be part of the Limpopo at this point. If I'm going downstream, I have to find the thing about that. And I roll a die and subtract 3. Okay, 3 of my canoes go over, I think. Occupants are all lost. My expedition has been wiped out. What does that mean? None of what I found is real. It's all a dream. He felt like he was doing pretty well. I think he's sick of the game. I don't know. He could start again next turn and start drawing cards for a new expedition, or he could go home. I haven't decided yet. He's somewhat interested in doing another expedition coming out of Khartoum. There are various advantages to that. Might be worth trying. I don't know if I want to do desert or what, but I think I'm probably going to stay in the game with this player a little bit longer. But yeah, now you see everything he explored, all gone. To say this kind of defeat when playing with a group of people is fun and funny and enjoyable. In any form of solo, it's kind of irritating. Even the multiplayer solo. It just doesn't carry over the same way. It's like, you're with a group of buddies, you're sitting around, you're having a good time, and oh shit, everything went wrong. That's cool. That's, some players will get upset about it, but most of the kind of people I hang out with really get a kick out of being wiped out, and seeing someone else get wiped out is kind of cool too, unless they're really upset by it. But alone, it's like my desire is to drop out of the game and play less players and see everybody wipe out. I am gonna play that character out. Let us see what the other players manage, though. Opens up with one of the shitty things. You were cheated by a sharp outfitter. 20 of your rations are inedible and must be discarded. This is one of those. The only avoidance of this is not to have rations. Is seeing the problem. Even with a friendly tribe, it's not great. At least I'm being fed each turn. I find a veldt. I'm not able to find a river coming out of that. This would have been the direction I'd like to go in, try to get towards that chit. Not happening in this direction. Didn't find the river. I could have cached my canoes, but I know that this river is going to be huge, so I want to make my way through it. I want to keep exploring it. I still have a pretty good expedition. I'm not getting wiped out because I'm sitting in a native village that's fine. I know I will find a way out. I actually probably didn't want to go this way. I probably should try to go this way or up this way for the simple expedient of I'm more likely not to find a river than to find one. And if I find one, that's cool. But now I've just boned a direction for the river that I would have wanted to go in. Anyway, Dr. Blue. Dr. Blue will be exploring further. He's going to go cautiously because, yeah, that's the biggest advantage of being in a canoe expedition. He finds himself a good location with no problems. Yes, the river is doubling back, but it will have to continue because that's the only outlet of the river at this point. This is a river begins here. For feeding, I'm rolling maximal rolls, getting 3 food per person. That's 21 food, but or 3 food per hunter. But I've got 24 people, so I'm eating 3 food a turn, even in the best of circumstances. Eventually, you end up downgrading your expedition one way or another. Once you run out of food, if you have no means of getting more. But it's worth having the bigger expedition because, hey, that canoe thing could happen again where, I lose a bunch of canoes. The one was going downstream, which is an odd circumstance. But there was also the Hippos one, which was kind of problematic as well. It was the same player, right? I don't know. And that's going to put me around to another one. And this is where the game 2 is a little different. Like, you know that Hippos, there's only going to be one card for those Hippos, right? So I'm getting towards the end of the deck. I know it's going to be back in there. The chances are low still, but just because of the amount of cards you draw for, exploring, the chance of any given disaster is relatively low. That's the thing that you get rid of with the game 2 is particular cards aren't going to come up again. But most of the particular cards aren't that important. It's only really the disasters that are, and you're spending all this time hunting through charts, rolling up your terrain and everything in ways that I just find obnoxious. At least in principle. I've never actually tried it. It just sounded so horrible. Another problem, I keep bumping these as I'm trying to draw. These chits are kind of, look, and explorer's chits usually aren't in the way of what you're drawing. You're usually not that close to another explorer, but these fuckers are just all over the map in stupid places. Big question is, what do I do with my geologist dude? If he goes back, he's in the same stupid position and actually a couple of turns worse off than the guy who just died. Dying is better in some ways. If he does not go back, what the hell? I might find something cool. Could happen. Could happen. And I could actually make a longer route and maybe publish ahead of Blue if I cut through his territory. So I'm going to try to continue on. I probably will dismiss bearers, though. I found a fork of the river. Cataracts are kind of weird. It doesn't tell you where in the hex to put the cataract. I guess you could randomize. I just put it where it's most dicky. It's not a big deal for him. He's walking. But he ended up finding natives, going with the friendly and open manner, and gave away all his food. He's still got 2 bearers with him. He's being fed and all. We're just trying to discover unusual geographical formation. Okay. I guess we put that down as unusual formation. And we roll a die. No, it's worth 2, right? I can't remember. It's a die roll, and I don't remember what I rolled. Well, it's worth 2 anyway. And this, if I publish it, is worth 2 victory points. Great. Once you get down to just the Explorer, in a way it's kind of cool. But you can end up sick, which is bad, because you end up sick from not being able to hunt, from things like that. You're in a problematic situation if you don't have any food. And I had to give away all my food to make friends with the natives. So I'm kind of in a, I'm probably going to get wiped out, but fuck it. It's not worth going home and publishing nothing. The thing is, I take sort of a role-playing aspect in a game like Republic of Rome, where I'm like, for victory conditions, letting Rome fall is worse than any other option that you have. So like letting Rome fall to the Carthaginians would be, or to the mob, would be a worse thing than any other possible result that leaves, some of the elite in charge. So what feels kind of like a draw to a lot of players in that game, to me feels worse than letting another player win. However you want to look at that. In this game, however, which feels more role-play-ish in a lot of ways, I'm like taking the victory conditions entirely into mind and not the role-playing. I'm like, my dude doesn't make sense if I walk home. Saving his life is unimportant. It should be important to him. And he could easily get out of here right? This is all safe stuff near me. I'm not deep in the heart of Africa. But I don't want to go home. I want to be important. I want to win the game. Yellow gets to choose a new type of thing. For this, I'm going to look, I'm thinking about Khartoum. What do I want out of Khartoum? Well, I can't really tell much about the type of terrain that I'm going to be dealing with going through there. Yeah, there's some chance of desert. That would give a botanist or geologist an advantage. There's mountains. That would give a geologist the advantage. And there's swamp, which just kind of sucks for everybody except the explorer and the zoologist. I think I'm going to switch to a geologist. And I'll write that down. I am going to draw my first card. And I get a free ticket to Port Elizabeth. So I can go to Port Elizabeth with nothing. That's useless. Fuck that. I have no points. This is how game 2 starts. You play with you play with a hand of 5 cards to begin with, which is about as good as you're going to get. If you have any you basically have to take a shit expedition for your first expedition. Now, is that horrible? Not really. Like we can see, your expedition starts getting wiped out pretty early anyway, so you're like, okay, fine. But a good expedition that doesn't suffer bad effects can do quite well for a while. Ends up wasting a turn because he's lost. It's hard to get out of the swamp. The base value is a 5. You have to roll a 5 or higher to get out of the swamp. I have a guide, and I'm moving cautiously, so that drops it down to a 3. So I'm not in that bad a situation, but this is a turn wasted where nothing happens. Luckily, I'm with natives who are willing to feed me. I discover a veldt. I start to draw it in. I'm gonna be going into it because the river has to continue here. I draw a river continues, but it gives me 2 numbers that don't work. So I keep drawing for numbers that will work. So 2, that'll get me over here, which will work. After blue has another successful exploration space. This thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This river might be running out, which is somewhat problematic, of course. I could, of course, sail my way all the way up here or something if I wanted to. I will calculate points once I get to the end of the river and try to figure out what I want to do. My expedition's not in great shape because of the lack of gifts and the fact that, I got a bad hunting roll this turn. So I ate like 10 food or something, instead of the 3 that is sort of if I get a good roll. Gonna break for a bit. I'm hungry, I'm low on tea, all kinds of things. But life has gotten kind of weird in the sense of ever since my cart broke, I got kind of a lift to I went once to the local close supermarket. I got a lift on the way back from swimming. We stopped at a supermarket and I grabbed, enough to get me through to this week. But I've got sort of this, geez, I just don't give a shit. Like, I don't give a shit enough to get food. I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't think I'm going to starve. I think I'll end up, going to the local place and spend too much money on food or whatever. But I just am not feeling any kind of energized nature to like fix my cart and haul it out. I don't know. The heat's been bad. Should break next week, I would guess. But it's so easy. Like, I think I would have been fighting and struggling against this even if my cart hadn't broken and if I wasn't injured and all that. Although the injuries seem to be somewhat healing. But yeah, I'm like one of these explorers. I'm this guy. No food, a gun, a couple of dudes following me around for no good reason. I can't even eat them. Damn it. The archaeologist is now alone. He's wandered into this mountain hex here, following the river. Didn't find anything too exciting. Well, he found a couple special things. He found another peak, a larger one, 17,800, and found tin worth 1 victory point. Again, he's going to try to branch his way down to this Quen River and maybe steal some discoveries, but also, maybe more importantly, that's an epic journey as well, which is of certain value. And yeah, but the reason he's alone now is his hunting roll was a 1, so he had to discharge his 2 bearers, so now he's out there with just a musket. If he gets a bad hunting roll, like a really bad one, like a 0, he will end up sick and with no way to really get out of it easily. That reduces his hunting capability, and he'll probably end up just dying. But he could get lucky. After reshuffling the whole big deck again, and I want to talk a little bit about the deck, because, you know, these tear out cards, they get grief. You know, compared to today's cards, they certainly are not that great. But I did notice one advantage with them over the poker quality cards. It's actually easier to do the overhand shuffle with them, in that they actually interpenetrate better than the slick cards. The slick cards, especially the kind of thick ones, have this tendency to like force themselves in little packets. This, I feel, spreads the cards a little better. Just a thing. Oh, no donation now for our new explorer. Has to bug out again, finding another hex that doesn't get me anywhere. I think we'll double back up here as our next move. Okay, although I managed to ignore my natives here and move in, I got a bit of a problem. Blue drew as their bonus discovery for a doctor. You stop impending battle between a friendly tribe. Oh, I don't have a friendly tribe. Excellent. Okay. This would have been a loss of a turn to get that. Which obviously is not something you want. I forgot to hunt. Ips, ips, ips. And more importantly, forgot to eat. So I'm in the best terrain possible, but I do not get a lot of food. Only 14 food for 24 people, again a 10-point food loss. One of the things is, once I run out of food, my mission's going to become more and more problematic, right? But the natives I meet on the way will be more likely to be friendly. Our geologist has come to the end of the Val. And it's allowed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Plenty there. I did follow this even though it's not going in the direction I wanted to, because it's easier not to get lost. And hunting is better. Because if I end up in shitty terrain hunting, I won't be able to find food. As it stands with the river in the veldt or the mountain, I'm guaranteed to feed myself. But once I lose the river, it's more questionable. That leads me to an interesting question. Am I going to bug out at this point? Let me calculate out my victory points that I've gotten. I don't think there's many. I mean, I've only got 6 hexes, right? But maybe it's good enough. I have 3 extra victory points here. I can't count these. I'm not going to win. Let's see what I got. I count I'm somewhere in the low 20s, including a penalty for defeating a tribe. I forgot about that. Somebody likes to, but most people do not. That's not bad, you know. That's close to a third of the game, right? I don't know. Exploration down here seems kind of iffy. Possibly a mountain expedition up here. Or maybe hope that the Limpopo works out better for me. Or something along those lines. It's something worth thinking about. I make my decision next turn, though. Through his first donation he can keep, a $50 donation. Pretty crappy. But, yeah, you start building it up. Missed another turn, lost in the swamps. But the natives are friendly. Continues on. His river would have ended, but it hasn't fulfilled its basin requirements, so we keep going. I'm going to head home with red. One of the players has already been knocked out to a pretty bad position. Only one player seems to be doing very well in a relative sort of way. Now, this is the expedition that I crafted the most and fucked up the most with, and it's doing all right just because of the luck of the cards and whatnot, right? But yeah, I think I'm going to bug out of there and head home. That means I can travel recklessly. That might not be the wisest thing, so I still have to check a disaster possibility. But hey, let's move faster. That'll get me 3 movement points, and in 2 turns I can make it to Cape Town or whatever. I'm safe, and I run. Just go here. We'll go to Port Elizabeth instead. Got another no donation. A fair amount of them showing up. It's kind of funny. I'm actually enjoying this about as much as I enjoy anything at this point. You know, I grumped and griped about it earlier, but, you know, certainly at least as much as I was the Nations in Arms. It's just a matter of mood and spirit of a day and whatever. Right now, I have no desire to take breaks or anything. I'll end up tapping out once batteries have to charge and whatnot. But this is about the level, about the happiest I get, I think. Maybe not at the level of splooshing around in the water being a really, really rare occurrence for me, but, and, you know, like being with people or whatever, but, yeah. Another crappy die roll for green and another turn wasted loss. Who has found the source of the Quen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is either the end of his canoe expedition. He could go home. He could cache the canoes and try walking. If he was really close to one of these, I would consider that. I've got a lot of bearers. I could carry everything with me and operate as a foot expedition. It's not a terrible choice. I don't have a lot of goods with me. Traipsing through the jungle might be hard. Another option would be to sail back downriver, and instead of going home, maybe go up and take my crack at the Congo. See what I can discover. Compete with green up there. The orange and the Val are tapped out. There really isn't anything too close. I mean, I could sail all the way up to here with my canoe. It's kind of dangerous. The Congo feels dangerous too. I'm actually considering abandoning my canoe expedition and trying to travel on foot. See what I can find. Could I carry my canoes? That's an interesting question. I've got 16 bearers. I can carry 160 stuff. I've got 65. and 2 canoes brings me to 145. I can actually portage my canoes about with me. I don't have to bury them. I'm big enough. That's an interesting concept. I might want to do that. I'm not sure that's legal. You're allowed to, they weigh 40 for portaging around a cataract, but can I just carry the canoes and hope for a river? The one place where the weight of canoes is handled here, a canoe weighs an equivalent of 40 items. It's its own little thing, but it's under, coming upon a cataract, a canoe expedition must portage around it. Each portage around it expends 1 movement point. I think the canoes are too big to actually haul around. But I could see taking that as, yeah, I can just pick them up and head off. Anyway, I'm going to play as I usually have, which is that I can't just carry my canoes around with me because I have space for them. But the point is, you have so many fucking bearers when you're traveling as a canoe expedition that it's not that terrible a thing. If I do decide to go on, I may want to lay off a bunch of bearers so that I don't have to eat so much of my food. And then, you know, I can come back and ride 1 canoe back if things turn shitty. Geologist makes it to Port Elizabeth, returns home. He loses his 1 item, his musket. He could have cached it somewhere, but he's not counting on making another expedition out of here. Although, honestly, everything that made a horse expedition make sense still kind of does. So maybe it's not terrible. But on the other hand, it just kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. With his big 50 bucks, draws a free ticket to Luanda. Yeah, a 50-buck expedition doesn't sound very good. I could hire an Ascari or buy a musket and a little bit of food or something. Yeah, does not make sense. It's to at least partially explore. Went into this hex. Desert should have shown up. That can't happen next to jungle or swamp, and it would have been next to both of them. I don't remember which one. I think it's jungle it's prevented from being next to. Because, yeah, salt marshes. So that turns to Velt instead. Still got to check for the river. Let's just do that. River begins or extends from adjacent swamp or lake. So we have the river. We get to actually explore now. We found us a native tribe in there. Had to fight them, even though we tried to approach them in an open and friendly manner. And we defeated them. We're able to release a native for a victory point. Great. And now we're on our way. And things might start looking up for us because we've been really stuck for a while. I was going to cache their 2 canoes because I've decided that's what has to be done. We're going to try to head into this hex. We're in a jungle right now, which isn't good. That's a base of 4. We have a guide that drops it to a 3. We have to move normal because we're a foot expedition. We succeed in exploring. But again, I'm saying you can't, even knowing there's a river here, you can't connect to it. It's going to be over a major slope and whatnot. It's probably not real close that it's navigable on both sides. But we did find a river in the Velt. If we find a tribe, we might be able to get a canoe. That would be really cool to explore this. We don't know where this goes. It might go all the way down to the Zambezi. It's got to try to go to a mouth if it can, which is kind of a cool thing. So we've actually got something pretty good. My hunting was good. That would mean eating 3 food. Instead, I discharged 3 of the bearers. I don't need them. If I find a canoe, I might be unhappy about all that. And I forgot to check for the bonus. You gain a friendly chief's favor. I don't have a friendly chief near me. So I don't think I get anything. That would be cool. 5 Ascaris free of charge. The problem, of course, with that is I think you have to arm them still. But I'm not sure. Maybe they're just such good hunters that you can have them without muskets or something. I don't know. You might also make arguments that, like, when an Ascari is killed, you might be able to retrieve the musket. Again, the rules don't cover that. Maybe in Game 2 they do. I don't remember any such thing. Feels like one of those, this would help a little bit. All right, we're back around. And the geologist gets to start drawing. By the way, yellow switched to a geologist. I hadn't written that down. He gets a $200 donation right off the bat. He wants to collect up a decent pile of donations and or a free ticket before he publishes. He finds himself another river hex heading up this way. Not the way I want to go necessarily, but this is one of the problems with the canoe expedition. You can't really hunt these as easily as you can with a non-canoe expedition. Of course, you can abandon your canoes and head out. The mission is getting uglier. I found a jungle swamp, not the best terrain to be in by any means, especially for getting out of, but I didn't want to bug out of it for whatever reason. Got kind of crappy hunting, so I discharged down to 6 bearers. That allows me to carry the 58 food I still have with me. We're just going to start letting them loose. Forgot again to check Doctor. See, the problem with Doctor especially, missionary wants natives around. Natives are a pain in the ass. You kind of don't want to be around them, so, Doctor may have some advantages to natives, but it doesn't really show up except through the bonus stuff. Also kind of wants natives around. Both of them don't generate as many likely cool finds, which is one of the problems that I have with them. And then we go back to the people who are hunting. Well, let's just hunting in Europe. Another $200 donation. This is looking pretty good for Red. He gets a free ticket. He'll probably take it. $400. Yeah, it's half the size of the expedition. It's less than half the size of the expedition he started with. But, you know, you don't need a huge expedition. Yellow gets $100. He's up to $250. Still pretty low. Not something I'd want to take, I think. And let's continue with the people playing in Africa. The thing is, while you're in Europe, you're pulling such, you're doing so little in your turn. You're drawing a card and waiting, drawing a card and waiting, trying to build up an expedition size that's worth it. Probably the free ticket is real important. That's a $500 boost to your expedition capability, right? Like, this guy has $250. He can't make it on $250. He can't make it to Africa. He needs a free ticket to make it with that. And likewise, this guy, $400. Again, he doesn't have the money to make it there without the free ticket. It's pretty hard to get together enough that you could make it on your own. Now, Red has the advantage that he does have, I said, about 20 points of expedition. I think that gives him like 2 more cards, to tell you the truth. No, it's per 4. So 5 more cards he has to draw. So if he gets a free ticket, he goes for it. Yellow's in an uglier position because he restarted. He doesn't have that opportunity to put together, to get a big pile of money at the point that he draws his free ticket. Except one of the unhappy disasters, and Ascari falls into the river and drowns. There's nothing you can do about that. He's down to 4 Ascaris now. His food situation is not horrible, but it's not stable at all, right? It's going to decrease at a pretty high rate. Anyway, you still continue your mission as much as you can. We got some veld here. I haven't drawn it in yet because I want to draw the river first. That's more important. But I got a river forks, but into two locations. Actually, no, it's allowed. It goes back this way. Okay, fair enough. I don't draw the fork in if it all goes to the same place. Depending on how you rule cataracts, you could put it on like one fork or the other and thus avoid the cataract maybe. But there are no rules that I'm aware of that allow you to make that kind of decision or randomize it or whatever. It's really one of the kind of flaws in the game is it doesn't tell you where the cataract actually goes. I try to put it at a choke point so that it forces you to deal with it. There are probably cataracts on both rivers if that's the case, because you probably are on both branches. I forgot his situation. He's down a bearer actually, or down a number of bearers, which means he's actually traveling slower than he should be. I've been having to do normal, I guess. I haven't really paid attention to that. I've been doing it as if I'm doing cautious. But okay. What do I get out of this? Well, what it means is I had 4 movement points to enter this hex. So even though there's a cataract, and I forgot to check for spectacular, 350-foot waterfall. Okay. Even though there's a cataract there, it cost me 2 to move into the space. I had 3 movement points, so I might actually have enough to do the portage. I doubt it. I have 130 bearers. I do not. This is going to be painful. Let me see how many movement points I have to qualify for this. What is this -1? Oh, that's my movement ratio because of what I've got. Now I could cut my thing down to a 1 canoe mission, but I don't feel like that's a good idea at this point. Although maybe, because I'm getting low on Ascaris is the thing. So if I drop down, let's see, 149, 153, I could carry about 10 people. 5, 6. Now, I got too many excess people to be able to move at full speed with 8 bearers. If I went down to about 10 people, that would mean my explorer and a guide, and that's it. It would be a possible expedition. Get rid of the Ascaris and say fuck it. Makes it so that even small tribes are going to wipe me out though, so that's not cool. So I will continue with this, but let me check the movement ratio that I have. I had 4 movement points, make it 3. 2 to go in there. I have 1 extra movement point. How many portages do I need? I need 149, 153 plus 80. Which is 223, 233? What am I saying? 153 plus 2 canoes is 80. Yeah, so 233, and I can carry 130 each time, which means that I've used up 1 movement point here. Now, this is a pain in the ass. Again, there's no way to handle this, right? I need to spend 1 more movement point to get around that cataract. Now next turn, that's fine, because I'm going to have 3 movement points. That means I can explore into there. But, you know, notating this, there's no, like, you know, minus 1 movement point or anything like that counters. I could do something. Who knows? Ooh, got a disaster. Your guide, I have one. That should be in bold. Says that the next hex to the west, direction 5, here, it's an empty hex, I don't know if that matters. Contains the elephant's graveyard with endless amounts of ivory in piles. Your expedition must move to that hex if able. I got lucky. Things kind of out of order. I often fuck up the ordering in this game. And actually managed to get out of the hex that I'm in. So I have to go in this direction, which is not where I'd want to go. We did find a river coming out of the swamp, which is kind of cool. And we fed everyone easily. We've got a high proportion of Ascaris. Foot missions tend to try to do that anyway. And, you know, more victory points coming. That's cool. Things will be cheaper going downstream if I return back this way. Although, who knows? You know, I might do a west-east path if things just keep going well for me. And that may win me the game to be able to get all the way across. I say all my high expectations that often occur in this game. That's the end of a cycle around. I'm going to break here, mainly because I'm low on battery power. And, you know, much as I say I'm enjoying myself about as much as I can, you know, under kind of normal circumstances, I enjoy listening to music out on the porch, drinking, whatever, or sometimes reading is cool enough doing that in a different sort of way. This is comparable to me just fucking around on the computer in terms of enjoyment overall. And I feel better about getting this played. So that kind of raises the bar a little bit. Honestly, you might even say I enjoy doing yard work as much as this. It's just, it's harder to convince myself to do certain things instead of others, whatever. You know, there's pleasure and accomplishments and stuff like that, that it all just blurs together and doesn't compute properly. There's no easy calculus of how much one enjoys any given thing. But anyhow, my batteries are low, so I will go watch videos, screw around, maybe read, I don't know. I have vodka now. A couple more donations. Yellow's up to 350, which isn't great, but red is up to 600, with which his publications is pretty decent, but again, barely covers the cost of a ticket, so I got to keep drawing, you know. And that'll put us to the players who are active. The green found themselves another cataract along the Congo. That means he's going to have to spend next turn, there's no natives there, next turn, I think, completely going around the cataract. He's not going to be able to explore another hex. He spent a movement point here and 2 getting into here. This one, I'm going to put him this way to try to indicate that he's stuck where he is, basically. Found something, and, you know, I just hate looking shit up. I think a river can go back around to a lake or a swamp. I can imagine that happening. I'm not positive about it. I don't think it counts as doubling back on itself in the same sort of way. So, yeah, you know, there's a little stream coming out of the swamp and it comes down at a lower point in the swamp, whatever. I'm okay with that. Found myself some natives, was able to ignore them and feed my entire force because I've got 7 hunters. As long as I get a 2 or a 3, I'm okay. I do have excess food, which is why I'm avoiding natives from now on. And then back up to the European explorers. What about something which is that you're reliant on your free tickets means that you don't get to pick where you want. I was talking about, hey, I'd come down from Khartoum. Yeah, great if I have a shit ton of money, but I don't have that. But Red pulled a ticket to Durban with $600 in the bank. It's time to publish. And that'll get me enough cards that I can start occupying. So what I'm going to do is calculate out everything that I get here It's not going to win me, so I'm not going to worry about the highest peaks and waterfalls and all that. But I do get the victory point for the tin that I discovered and the unusual feature or formation, which is those aren't unique, so they can score no matter what. And then we'll land in Durban, and I don't know. I guess we build our expedition now. We covered these out, and actually there is a river coming out of Laval here. There is a branch heading up that way that I didn't realize, because, yeah, it's kind of hard to draw things and get everything right. But I'm pretty sure that was there. But that's okay. I don't think I would have pushed forward into that other branch. And it's too late now. Unfortunately, I got 23 victory points because I had to spend one for having defeated a tribe. That means that I get 5 additional cards. 1, 2, ooh, a $400 donation. 3, 4, 5. Okay. This goes away, but I have a hell of an expedition here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, $1,300 and a trip to Durban. So I can build a bigger horse expedition this time. And we will construct that now, I guess. This is what we've built up. We're going with 7 Ascaris instead of the 4 that the mounted expedition normally goes with. We bought ourselves a bunch of riding mounts, 11 of them for all of us. 2 bearers with 5 pack mounts instead of the, whatever, 3 or whatever this thing generated. That can still be covered by 2 bearers. And a lot of goods. Now this is dangerous because I don't have extra horses, but I have extra Ascaris, essentially. So that works out pretty well. Plus I took a lot of rations, not a huge amount, but 90 rations. If we take a look, that's on the lower end, but it's better than the mounted normally carries. I brought 4 muskets with me, 1 for the Explorer, 3 extra in case I want to trade. This just has to do with filling, keeping the transport capacity low. 60 gifts, that's enough to deal with some tribes if need be. I have a couple of friendly tribes in the area that I'm in. If I want to trade and can't manage it and in other circumstances, I feel like I've got a pretty good expedition here. And that is my turn. Let's take a look at Yellow. Yellow gets a free ticket to Luanda with 350. That feels low. I've got a shitty $50 thing. Luanda is up here. There's a lot of players there. I'm going to pass and not go with that. I just don't feel like I've got a good enough expedition, especially seeing that Red's walking in with a powerful team going forward, and also has 23 points banked already. So I really, if I get something like this, I'm done. I'm able to win the game. You can see that not much of the board gets completed in the game 1 unless you play it over multiple sessions, right? Because I got 23 points off this, an exploration like that, I'm gonna be, able to go back and publish with what I want to do. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the Durban expedition. It might be best to run up to the Limpopo and try to scout that out a little bit and see what that does, because rivers add a point each for each hex. So exploring along the river, whether you're canoe or not, is a good thing. That's why canoe expeditions are so good, but I feel like I should go with the horse expedition. That's what I went with before. We'll see how it works out. He got very unlucky and is now not in a terrible position, to be honest. He needs 2 movement points to get through this. The only way I can get 2 movement points is to go normal. I don't really want to go reckless on an exploration turn, so I will stay in the same hex. Let's see what my disaster is. 4 bearers become sick after drinking water from the lake. Okay, great. And otherwise, I just have to hunt. Which is going to be on column 7. And we get tons of food. 15 out of 19 we still, even with the best food, we still end up eating. Picked normal movement so that I could explore, wanting to go here, but once again I'm sent into the elephant graveyard. I had to shoot my guide. That's 46. This is one I'm gonna have to cope with once again, and that's not great. I am going to take the policy 2 here, retreat back from the hex that you just went to. And I was going normal. I had to go ahead with that. We get a 7, that's not good. We're going to have to fight. Didn't succeed in bugging out because we got the attack card. We don't get anything special, but we ended up winning the battle, which gets us a -1 victory point there, and losing 5 of our 6 Ascaris, which makes our whole mission look pretty iffy. We may want to bug out. I'm going to calculate points before I make that decision, but blue is in a, not sure what I want to do here type of situation. My publication will be big, but I don't think it's big enough to win the game off of what I've gotten. On top of that, yeah, I mean, all I have left is rations because I was stupid in terms of how I designed my expedition. I have the cash I could run up and get, but that doesn't seem terribly valuable. So I think I'm probably going to bug out as soon as I can. A fast move will get me back to a port, and that's kind of cool. I got to do my hunting with only 2 hunters. I think I'm in the jungle. Yeah, with the river. I only get 2 food per, so that's 4 food for 9 people running down quick. I could press on a little bit, get another hex or 2, but again, I just don't think I'm close enough with this expedition to make it make sense. Goes, I guess, normal, right? Mounted is, yeah, 4 movement points as well. Running my way up here to the Limpopo. Could I have gone more than that? Yeah, sure, but exploring when you're not going normal or cautious, I just see that as too dangerous. So I'm set up there, ended up feeding everybody, so it was a good turn. I got all those Ascaris with me. That makes it much, much easier. The only thing I'd have trouble with is desert. Desert is a pain in the ass. You don't want to deal with that. Might as well draw his card. This is a $300 donation. That gets me to 4, 5, 650. At this point, I'm happy if I draw a ticket. I wasn't before, but now pretty much any ticket is worth it. But I'm still gonna, I'm not gonna go this turn because that's not an amount of money that I can afford a ticket out of money for. What was his situation? He just cleared the cataract, so now he can do his. It's gonna have to be normal movement to get into a hex because I'm low on bearers. This is a bad one. A canoe is sunk in a river whirlpool. Everything and everyone on board, as well as the canoe, are lost. Geologist avoids the whirlpool. Again, geologists are cool for this, if nothing else. That means I have to rearrange my whole structure. Now, supposedly, you're supposed to prorate your stuff. I don't know how happy I am about doing that. I'll try as best as I can, but you know, it would make more. Well, I should definitely prorate it because I shouldn't have. I only have 13 bearers across 2 canoes, so I would probably be split 6 and 7, which then changes everything else. So my expedition is basically cut in half this turn. This is what I come down to, and I did indeed pretty much do everything half. The only thing I kept my guide instead of a bearer. Kept as many Ascaris, half my Ascaris, and I kept an extra musket. I figure my explorer's got a musket on him. The extra musket will be on the explorer's canoe as well. So that gets me to, again, a much smaller expedition, but still a viable one, sort of. I really wish I had another. I really wish I had the 8 bearers to keep moving, because the gifts give me a fair amount of capability coming forward. The river ends, but it can't. The drainage basin isn't completed. This swamp is blocked off here. I don't believe there are any forks, so this river has to actually continue. It goes 4, then 5. It's going to go this way. Oh, that's ugly, because I can't loop it around like that. Both those drainage basins have to be completed, which means this cannot go down. It's going to have to go up, and it's going to create a really ugly pattern for that final river. Bad hunting result as well, which means we're down to 19 food. We may need to rely on our gifts, muskets, etc. to get us somewhere. Getting more Ascaris would be useful. We could easily afford my 2 extra muskets worth to be able to support them in my team, and that might be very cool. Another option would be to go for bearers, but right now we got no natives. I haven't checked my spectacular or my extra bonus discovery here. Tribe in convinced you are a god, is convinced you are a god. If not friendly, they will automatically become friendly. I have no guide here. Those gifts would have been useful. I could have traded the shit with them and gotten all kind of stuff. Had a much better expedition at this point. But it does not happen. Let's get my decision on blue. I need to count my victory points and see what kind of position I'm in, because if I'm close to winning, I want to go for it. I released a couple of these. I got a couple extra points here, but I don't think I am. I think I'm about halfway, which is about what I thought. I'm seeing about 43 is my guesstimate. I defeated a couple of tribes that'll cancel out the releases, so 45. I do not feel comfortable continuing on with this expedition terribly, do I? I don't know. I could get real lucky if I can make it to one of these, and if it's something that a doctor likes. If it's the kingdom, that extra 20 points and the extra hexes that I'd get would get me the win. I'm pretty sure. Who are these guys? 3. They're a neutral attitude. I could move in and try to hide from. Let's go for it. Even though it's a small tribe, we weren't able to keep them away from us, and they gave us a defeat. Should have run. Consequences of defeat: 7. Explorer escapes with his musket and 9 rations. Now I'm alone. Now, we saw what somebody did alone before, but at this point, I don't have an expedition anymore. I think it's time to back off after this. On my next turn. Let me erase that all out and clear it. And I think this is not a terrible time to load the video up. I think we're pretty close to the halfway point in the game, which is to say this guy has a fair amount of points. A good exploration gives him, victory. This guy's getting a new expedition ready. This guy's leaving. This guy, I don't know. He's moving rather slowly is what it's coming down to. I leave these half hexes without a marker on them. There's a bit of a problem with that because if green dies, those have to go away. Now, once he publishes, I'll put kind of a marker between them just to kind of indicate, that's just his knowledge, no one else. Another thing is, it's starting to get duskish. Yesterday, I went out and watched the sunset over, back in the park area. There's a nice view of it. I may do that again tonight. That kind of improved my view on life a little bit. Sunrises, I come out and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Now what? But having to actually, like, either going out on the porch to sit and watch, which isn't as much fun in the early morning when I'm like in a different state or whatever, but also it's not as warm and whatnot. I'm going to be in the 50s every night right now. Got a somewhere between a 30 and 40 degree drop in temperature every night, which feels extreme to me. Same thing happened in Phoenix. Doesn't happen most places I've lived, but it happens here, at least in the summer. Kind of a desert-like feel is how it goes. It gets chilly at night. So, yeah, I may end up doing that and being away for a bit. But anyhow, we are going to load this one up. And, yeah, maybe I'll keep enjoying. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised because I felt so grumpy about it. And I remembered when I played with my wife, I gave it a 5 rating, which may have been modified by previous plays and whatever, but I don't feel like I really enjoyed doing it then. Some of it comes down to the rules are a pain to find things, and some of the things just I don't feel are well defined in it. Like, could I hook back around into that swamp? You can make an argument either way for it. And if you do play it enough, or after you've played for a while, you start to get a feel for that and come to some decisions. But having to make those decisions and interpret the rules again after not playing for, it's been over a decade since the last time I played. And before that, it was who the hell knows how long. At least 10, 15 years there. So, kind of not getting my games played enough where the things that I've decided, which may be wrong, apply, and still work for me. Anyway, let's look. One good thing is, if only one person knows the rules and has their own sort of way of dealing with things, it's okay to just step in and say, screw it, this is what happens, If multiple people have different interpretations of the rules, this game becomes probably pretty ugly to play. The same way that, like, it's ugly for me to face it anew, having to dig through the rules and figure out how to do it. It was more exciting when I first played it, even though, I had to struggle with the rules or whatever. Because, hey, back then things were exciting more to me, but also, it is a very different kind of game from a lot of others. So I think the fact that I'm coming back to it and struggling with the rules again is a part of what's making it less enjoyable to me. Also that I'm an old fart now.